Welcome to the Searchlight Sessions. I am Maggie McClure, your host, and today we have a very special guest, Jennifer Lyneis, coming from Burbank, California. Jennifer's worked with Grammy Award-winning and nominated acts like Jack Johnson, Nelly Furtado, Stone Temple Pilots, Audio Slave, and tons more. She's also earned her Top 40 Promotion Team of the Year, Hot AC Record Promoter of the Year, AC Record Promoter of the Year awards, and so much more. She's coordinated tour sponsorships for Miller Brewing Company, Heineken, T-Mobile, Verizon, just to name a few, as well as various charities benefiting arts and entertainment. So she's here today to talk to us about how artists can expand their fan base and develop additional revenue streams through sponsorships, online streaming opportunities, and more. Thank you, Jen, so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, we're so glad that you could join us today. I guess let's start out by, can you tell us how you got started in this crazy business of entertainment?
Yes. Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't even thinking about going into this business at all. I had my sights set on being a dentist of all things. And a summer job at Dick Clark Productions really opened my eyes to my love of marketing. And so when I started, it was really more in on the television production side. And I just got that taste for branding and marketing and music. And so I really switched my focus. So after working in television production, I met a woman at the time that was in radio promotion at Warner Brothers. She was leaving to start her own indie radio promotion company. I wanted to stay home with my first child, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to work from home and, start raising my kids. So I worked in radio for about 11 years, loved it. It did require a lot of travel, kind of towards the end. So when my partner retired, I decided that I was going to move away from radio in the sense of calling radio, having to travel with the artists and so forth, and really focus more on branding, building brands, artist development, publicity. And for me, I feel like it has been such a great career for a woman. You don't have to have, especially now with this pandemic, you don't have to have these big fancy offices. You can have people working for you in all different parts of the country, and you can work from home. And that to me has always been a really big thing for me, raising 3 kids. So that's pretty much how I got started.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Let's just start jumping into some topics here. So
yes.
Let's talk about how in the past, record labels served as artist development teams, and basically you could come in as an artist and get a complete team of people to help you with every aspect of your career. Well, Today, obviously, that climate has changed. People are still getting signed with majors, but there's way more independent artists out there than there are artists signed with major labels. And
Absolutely.
And it's become so important for independent artists to wear all of the different hats. Can you talk a little bit about those different roles that artists, a lot of independent artists in particular, have to wear these days?
Absolutely. Like you said, back in the day, that was getting a record deal and developing an artist was really a part of the show of the label. It's so DIY right now, where these artists are really going out and doing a lot of these things on their own, or hiring people like myself to help with establishing their brand, photographs, finding the right people for them to write with, the right producers. we're basically really acting as like an A&R department and a development, because a lot of these labels aren't taking chances anymore on just, we're going to sign someone that has no proven track record. So a lot of it is really, the artist really has to learn that part, really learn business. And most, I would say at least 50%, they really don't want to have anything to do with it. Yeah. It really, they want to be able to create. And a lot of times this business stuff does take away from the creativity, and it's difficult. So if you have a team behind you, really acting as like a label for you, it does help in the sense of, obviously we bring connections, but I think it's really about teaching entrepreneurship, because really that's what it is. And, your brand is this is your business, and there's an infrastructure, and you have to really learn the ins and outs of how to get your music out there, how to build your brand, how to find your audience. And that could be done in so many different ways these days. There are corporations out there, big and small, that are taking chances on artists. You don't have to be Lady Gaga. There could be an emerging energy drink that is really, let's say, regionally looking for an Americana country act, let's say in the Midwest, that they don't have a budget for someone that, they're going to have to pay six figures for. So there's many ways to come up with things to partner with these type of corporations to do online promos. Obviously, with touring, that's a big part of, putting their product in front of a lot of people, So I think that, back to what you originally said or asked was, what do these artists have to learn? And I think it really comes down to becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I mean, I could say from firsthand experience, it would be nice to be able to just focus on the music, but it's so necessary and absolutely critical to take the time to take care of your business. And it's all about finding balance, I think, and feeding the creative side, but also tending to the business and keeping that going and taking care of all of that. And, I think a lot of people look at artists and see them in the spotlight and kind of this glamorous type of appeal. But a lot of what artists do, what I do, it's not very glamorous. It's a lot of
Right.
emails and phone calls and hard work. And I think that it's important for people to know that, all areas of the career need to be tended to. And it's awesome that you and your company offer those services to help take the load off of artists in those areas.
Right.
And also, as an artist, I only know so many people. And so your connections are also extremely beneficial as well and helpful to help create new opportunities and revenue streams and more. So let's talk a little bit about the pandemic. So it has affected everyone.
Right.
And it has affected everyone in the entertainment industry on different degrees and in different ways. But for artists specifically and musicians, obviously it's been very hard for those who rely on the income from touring and just touring and missing out on that experience and that vital part of being a performing artist. So let's talk about ways that people can adjust during this time and post-COVID, but what are some things that people can be doing, actions that they can take now? Because so many people see this as a roadblock. A lot of people are in shell shock and don't
Right.
really know what to do. So what are some things that artists and musicians can do during this time to keep things going, to keep making income, and to keep the momentum moving forward?
You know, when it all first came crashing down, we had many clients that had tours planned and so forth. And I mean, we really had to pivot quickly. But one thing I'll say about the music business is we seem to always be resilient. It's the universal language. It's what brings people together. Um, I see it at right now. If you were, you're asking me, I would say this actually is, there's a positive side to this. Um, it's all about the connection. And okay, so you can't be out at a club performing on a stage. There's so many things that you can do in regard to these live streams. I think this Patreon is, to me, amazing. I'm really loving this platform because I feel like your true fans are going to show up. They're going to get a more intimate experience. There's ways, obviously, to sell your merchandise and also ways to get them to interact. Like if it, even as much as saying, we want to do new t-shirts and we want you as our fans to send in examples of what you would, let's do a design contest. I think it's really about, interacting with the fans. And you can do that on the road, but there is something really interesting about how much more you can actually engage people individually online. So we have to take this and we have to turn it around and it not be a disaster, and we have to find the silver lining in it. And I think that silver lining is, at least for me, what I've seen, not only with my own clients, but even, artists that are really big, really established. There's been times through this whole thing where I've gone to an artist page that's a multi-Grammy winner, and I'm getting a closer look into their life and their struggle and what's going on, and them being with family more, and just being able to see it in a more intimate way. So I think in terms of revenue, it's hard when you've got those touring acts that depend on that money to roll back into their career in marketing and radio and so forth. It's been a hard pill for them to swallow. But there's so many ways, like I said, that you can engage in such a way that your artists or your fans will keep coming back. But you got to make it fun. You got to make it interactive,
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think, just a few things that come to my mind. One, you can be writing, you can be practicing,
Yes.
you can be perfecting your craft, which, is unfortunately something that is easy to say you're too busy for. Well, if you have the extra time, put the time in to practice, perfect
Right.
your craft, write, co-write with people online.
Yes.
Record if you have a home studio or have a
Right.
way to safely record. Now is a great time to be recording new music so that when we can play shows again, that you'll have new material.
Absolutely.
An option.
I definitely encourage the co-writes. So many people are doing them online now.
Yes.
And I just think it's a way, especially a lot of times, some people write when they're completely in love and happy, but a lot of people can't write like that. Like a lot of people have to be more in distress or something, like a disaster's happening in their life, and I'm just finding that more and more people are, upset, a little depressed, having a lot of anxiety. And I'm encouraging people to come together and do those writing sessions together.
Yeah, it can be very therapeutic to write in general, and then also to write with other people who are going through the exact same things as you. So
Yes.
I totally agree with that. Um, Let's talk about a couple other things people could be doing. So you mentioned earlier working on your brand. Let's expand on that a little bit, because that is something that takes time and thought and effort. And that's something
Right.
that we could be focusing on now, and something that we should all be focusing on after COVID as well.
Right. You know, so back in the day of early Dick Clark, we had America's Top 40, and it was not genre specific. If the song was a hit, it went on and it got played. You can have a jazz song with a country song, and now it's really because of technology and short attention span, I believe, with the consumer. It kind of, for me, it starts with a photograph. I mean, believe it or not, when someone sends me their music to listen to, my brain goes to, how are we going to present this? Yes, I'm looking for those hit songs. I'm looking to see what's the gem out of these, let's say, 6 tracks that we could promote first, right? But really, my brain really goes to brand now, because it's the first thing people see. How, if you're putting yourself out there, how do we get that consumer to open up your website, listen to the music, go to your Spotify page? So I think that it's a very personal thing. But I also think that a lot of times these artists don't realize how important it is. We can have an act that has just got this just incredible music, but their branding is so off that really it just doesn't it doesn't work, because we can't get people to buy into the lifestyle of that artist, So I think it really starts within. When I work with clients, after, let's say, hearing the music, let's just say something comes to me that's already complete, and I didn't have any creative input in terms of picking producers and helping in that regard. I really start with, I need to really get to know the artist that I'm working with. And I always do this marketing survey, because I want to know, who do you think that you can tour with? Are you vegan? Are you, you just start asking these questions. You kind of be able to kind of conceptualize and help them come up with a concept. I truly don't believe in hiring someone like me to say, we're doing it this way. I think it really needs to be a collaborative effort. Mm-hmm. It is so important. And that is what I try so hard to hammer home to people, is branding is it's as important as a song now.
Yeah, I agree. And I can say, for the Theaginaries, which is my band with my husband, Shane Henry, we spent a lot of time working on the branding and developing that before we recorded anything. Yeah. And, thankfully we had some input on that from our design team, Nominee Design, but we really just had to sit down and talk about what kind of band are we? And
right.
Talked about the fact that there's a sense of adventure to our music and to us. We like traveling, we like being on the road. We wanted to portray that. And so with that in mind, that's going to translate into our images, into
absolutely
our album artwork, into our music videos, into everything we do, even our live performances, in what we're wearing. It all ties together. And I totally agree with you that branding is very, very important. And so maybe one thing that people could be working on right now is taking ideas from different artists, saying, okay, that really resonates with me. I like that concept.
Right.
I like that look. And just trying to come up with their own and being able to communicate that with maybe a photographer would be a next step.
Yes, photography. I think visual content is so important. Videos, video clips for socials. One thing I will say, I think if you remember me saying this, Maggie, when you first sent me your everything, your package, your photos, the music, I said to you, it is a rarity for me to get submissions where I don't want to like change all what's going on in the brand. I think that you guys are really on the money of that adventure. You listen to that music and you're like, okay, yeah, I get these two. It's like a Bonnie and Clyde, just like, I just loved it so much. But yeah, I mean, it's just really important. And I mean, I think people are getting it, I think artists are getting it more now than before. But I know that my first introduction to working with brands was, when I left radio, I was really working on the advertising side of radio. So I would really work with, let's say, a brand who wanted to do advertising at radio, like a concert giveaway, those sort of things. And so I think that really helped me in the terms of learning what brands are looking for, in an artist, in a partnership. So, I mean, I think to me, that's really, outside of just loving music, I think the branding aspect to me is the most exciting. Just helping an artist really get into that space where they are really comfortable with who they are and how they're portraying their vision to the world.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. What about music discovery websites and blogs, playlists, Pandora, Spotify?
Yes.
How can people?
Yeah, it's hard. It's competitive, but it's very important. A lot of these bigger magazines, and they get tons of submissions. So this kind of comes back down to branding and bio and how you're pitching your client. So if you're dealing with an artist that really doesn't know their own brand, doesn't really know what they want to say, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So I think on the pitching aspect of public relations, it really comes down to the story. How do we get this journalist at Billboard to open up this artist when he's getting hundreds of pitches a day? So I think, headlines are important. Other past press pieces, in your pitches is very important. Publicity, I mean, to me, it's everything. Like it's so necessary. A lot of people don't realize how necessary it is. But what's even become more competitive and more vital are these, playlists on Spotify, features on Pandora, features on Amazon Music. These are the things that if someone is going to a specific, really big curated Spotify playlist and you're showing up there, you're going to get into an algorithm. You're going to get to a lot more people because of that popular playlist. Mm-hmm. Super competitive. And a lot of it is luck, timing, and magic. It really is. There's no rhyme or reason. I sometimes look at playlists that I'm pitching and I see songs on there and I scratch my head and I'm like, wait, what? Why did this get added and not the track that I was pitching? Again, I mean, I think that, summing up the whole industry is some luck and some timing and magic. I mean, that's really what it's all about. Yeah. But yes, it's important. And for an artist that doesn't have the budget to hire a team, doing your research and trying to find out who those people are. Even, a lot of times we're like, oh, we don't like the artist pitching for us. Or pitching themselves. Right. I honestly, if you don't have the money for marketing, do it just go for it. Pitch them yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing about that. What do you think about social media ads. Can we talk about that for a minute? Facebook and Instagram ads.
Mhm.
What have you found, and even Spotify ads, what have you found to be the most effective for independent artists, and what kinds of ads would you suggest?
I could get in trouble with this answer. No. So, it depends. It really kind of depends on the artist. But like, to be honest with you, I feel like Facebook ads have been more advantageous for clients than Instagram. And how I determine that is I feel like Instagram is it's a younger audience. Okay. Once people like me went on Facebook, the moms, right? A lot of the kids jumped off. It's not the platform where they go for discovery anymore because their parents are there. So now we followed them to Instagram. But the younger demographic of younger and college age kids don't like to see ads. They want to discover a new act from a friend and that sort of thing. They think that it's kind of, their attitude is almost like a little selling out thing. So what I notice when I'm working with very young alternative acts, even young pop acts, a lot of them don't want to have the ads because they're worried about what their peers think. So I find that the Instagram ads a lot of times don't work that much, depending on the age of the artist that we're working at. Facebook, I really don't have a lot of complaints about. I think that, again, if you're an artist in your middle to late 20s, 30s, like that, I think that's still a demographic for you. Spotify, they get 2 million new songs a week. It's hard to get noticed. So I'm really kind of an advocate for these audio and video ads. I think that depending on the situation, I think they could be beneficial. I mean, I just had something happen to where we have a rock band that is at Active Rock Radio, and a very important station had reported about 2 months ago that they felt their streaming was very low. And this act had never invested in any advertising. So we kind of had a little success happen this week. We started doing some audio ads within the Spotify platform, and it really started catching on. People were adding them to their personal playlist, which then we got a couple more stations because we could show the growth. And the next thing you know, the number one rock Spotify curator took a notice, and they just got added to a very important rock playlist.
Wow.
I don't know if that would have happened if their streams weren't, if their song wasn't put in front of a lot of people to get that in the algorithm. I don't know if she would have really taken it serious. But I think that we were advertising and people were reacting. People were saving the song. And that's, I believe, how it started. If we did nothing no advertising during this radio campaign, I'm not so sure. Mm-hmm. So I think now we have the attention of the number one rock curator. And guess what? Now we're going to turn around in 6 weeks and drop a new song. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just kind of have to play that game.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, elaborating on these ads and content in general for social media, what kinds of content should people be putting on social media? Are videos more important than photos? Are they? How should you go about posting from your?
I definitely think there needs to be a mix. I think it needs to be pictures. But here's another thing. I get invited to do a lot of these, like Warner Brothers, let's say, will put on they'll have their head of social media, and they invite people within the industry, and we do these, Zooms and so forth, interactive things. And the theme is always, and I try to tell people this, don't make it all about your music and about, you know, we got on this radio station, we got like, you want to promote that stuff, but we also, and this is why I love this, I'm really trying to get into this Patreon stuff a little bit more. I'm learning more about it. People crave personal. They want to know, oh, Maggie seems approachable. Mm-hmm. Shane's approachable. They want to see more of that personal side. So I think we have to have a balance of getting the information out there, getting the new, stuff out there per song, album coming. It's got to be a mix of video, mix of pictures, but also a mix of do a story, at a coffee house and saying, I think I just wrote the best song I ever wrote. And you show your coffee cup, something as, simple as that would be like, oh, Maggie loves, lattes, those are the type of things that I think people really crave, that access to something that's personal. So that is my number one recommendation. Get a little bit more personal.
Yeah. And even though it may be a personal post or video, it still ties into the brand, right?
Right. I think so. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't, the thing is that I think the brand has to, some artists have a persona where they're a completely different person than their art. I'm not so sure I'm that girl to work those type of jobs.
Yeah.
I want authenticity. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think, I know your brand and I know who you are personally, and it's like really on point. But look, there's artists out there that are very famous that Lady Gaga doesn't go out and dress like Lady Gaga every day. Right. You know what I mean? There's a personal, really intimate, beautiful side of her that, she shares with people. I bring up Lady Gaga because I really am kind of fascinated with her brand because, in all honesty, when she first became on the scene, I wasn't like really into her. Mm-hmm. Until I saw her just sing with like virtually no makeup on, piano vocal. That was it, live. And I was like, holy crap, I really love this girl. I really love her. Yeah. So I think, obviously her brand is so enormous. But still, even when she does personal things and she's not in Gaga form, she's still Lady Gaga. You know what I mean? It's still a part of who she is. So I think authenticity is very important.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I could say from my experience that more personal posts do better as far as activity, likes and comments and shares.
Right.
Sometimes even, better than something really exciting that just happened, for music. It's really interesting to see what people engage with. And
right.
It does seem like if it has a more personal connection that there is more engagement. So that's really interesting.
Definitely.
Cool. Okay. What do you think about, we kind of talked about artists collaborating with other people during this time via Zoom. People can also collaborate in a recording aspect, remotely as well, which is something that they could be doing right now during the pandemic when maybe they can't be in person together in the studio. But that's a great thing about right now is that, tracks can be recorded remotely and sent over, and people can collaborate that way.
Maggie, I thought that because of this pandemic, we were going to be completely shut down. We are so busy. I am working up until the end this week, like Christmas. The thing obviously that has changed is our ability to get our artists out there and tour. But let me tell you, the creativity that's happened has been incredible. It really has been.
That's awesome. So let's talk about live streams. How can artists actually generate revenue from doing a live stream show? From my experience, we've done so many live stream shows in 2020 and in different ways, but it seems like we get the most engagement when it's a Facebook Live from our music page. At first, we started not asking for a donation, if you will, and just putting our PayPal link in the post. That wasn't really generating a lot of donations until we started asking for a $10 suggested donation in our post of our live streams. That seemed to be a way to just make people think, oh, okay, sure. And of course, we added in there, if you're going through a time of financial hardship, please do not feel obligated.
Right.
We want you to watch this, no matter what.
Right. Right.
And that approach seemed to generate the most income on our end and more merchandise sales. We tried to do a couple of live streams through other platforms, but the engagement just was not as much as Facebook. And for us, doing them from our music page and from other music venues like Rockwood Music Hall, those have been the most attended. What is your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's difficult. That's why I think, looking into these platforms of live streams, like, giving offerings, like through, like we said, like a Patreon where someone's paying $5 a month and they're getting, all your content. Outside of, there have been, I think the most successful ones that I've seen are ones that have been offered through the clubs, like Rockwood Music Hall. There's also been some that have been sponsored by corporate, sponsorship. But obviously, that you have to really think about who can we hit up for this client and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that, there are companies out there that would sponsor content. I'm seeing that a lot more on YouTube and live streams. That is something that is becoming obviously more at the forefront now, that we're going to really have to start jumping on, because if the client is not going to be touring next year, we need to figure out more ways for them to make money, and teaming up with the brand and maybe them, paying for the artist to have a backdrop with, their product, or even do product giveaways. And so in turn, you're getting a fee to basically promote their brand while you're doing these shows. That is happening a lot more. And this is going to be a model we're going to have to use a lot more in 2021 if people aren't back on the stages.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, with that in mind, how would an artist go about getting a sponsorship? I mean, for us, I know that you have to look at your brand, right? And look at what products or companies you and your brand line up with. It has to be authentic, like you're talking about. So can you talk about that a little bit more and how an artist would go about getting sponsorship?
So, there's been times where someone, a client has made a song that mentions, let's say, Nike, or mentions an alcohol. That's right then and there, if that's kind of their thing and what they're into, you go brand direct, or you go and see who is the agency handling Nike, and you can pitch that song for commercial. So there's ways in terms of licensing music that you approach a brand. But, let's just say an artist, I can give an example of, let's say, I won't say who the microphone company is, because then everyone's going to want me to send them. But most of the time, an instrument company, they'll just do products giveaways, or 50% off a guitar and so forth. I did a partnership one time that it started out as a simple microphone, and the girl was, as her kind of career kept getting bigger and bigger, this turned into, oh, we're going to make her a Swarovski crystal microphone. Oh, you're going to get her on the cover of Fader magazine. Well, we want to pay for advertising inside the magazine with pictures of her with the microphone. So, I mean, a simple product endorsement can turn into something, as the band grows, the brand would maybe be more interested because of the eyeballs that they could get on their product. Numbers are important. Social media numbers are important, but there have been companies out there who absolutely just fall in love with an artist's brand and their music and will give them a chance. One of the most fun brand rollouts that we did is I did a campaign for Nestle, and they came to music marketing people, and they said, we want to promote this Wonka candy, and our age demographic for our candy is like age 8 through 10. We want kids in high school and college to eat our candy. How do we do it? So we're like, we're going to do a battle of the bands. So we did this online battle of the bands through Nestle and the Wonka candy. And it was so interactive and so fun. And they wanted 1 million impressions. And we ended up getting them like 7 million impressions. It was crazy. They weren't asking for much, but it was great because every band that made it to the top 10 won something from Nestle, And so, again, they were not looking for Britney Spears. They were looking for pop acts that would hit that, Britney Spears market, So, yeah, I mean, it's probably better to hire me and let me get you the sponsorship. But yeah, no, it's really, you have to really, like I said, consult with your client and really try to find those really good brands that we think, that doesn't compromise the artistry of the artist. You need to be authentic again.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thinking like on a local level, I think possible tour sponsorship, maybe find a local company that aligns with your brand and approach them about partnering, whether it's monetarily or you are advertising their product, like what you're talking about. I think that's a good first step for someone up and coming in the industry to
Absolutely.
go. Okay.
Yeah, regionally is always a great place to start, for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing on that. Very interesting stuff there. Is there anything you'd like to share about influencers or content or anything else about the online space and ways that people can be making the most out of what we have at our fingertips these days?
I mean, in a perfect world, a famous musician who will repost your stuff and get it out to millions of people. There's a lot of things going on right now with TikTok and, these influencers, but they're not going to do this for free. So there are people out there that have budgets that are paying a lot of money to get these young, influencers to do dances to their songs, repost their songs and so forth. And, I think that I haven't come across too many things lately that doesn't involve paying those influencers, unfortunately,
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All good to know about.
Yes.
Sure. I can definitely say that the few times I've had more popular people repost or retweet something that I've put out there, that has definitely made a huge impact.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes.
Cool. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. Is there
Thank you
anything?
for having me.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers? Maybe just some overall advice on what's
Yes.
something they could do today that might help them move things along?
Well, I think so the biggest thing that you know how like everyone has to have some sort of mantra, something that they live by. Um, I live by someone's statement that really has stuck with me through my whole career, not just in business, but in life. Jimmy Valvano, he said, don't give up, don't ever give up. To me, that is like the one thing that I really try to tell my clients, because it's a hard business and it is remarkably challenging and competitive and doesn't always happen quickly. So I would say, don't give up, don't ever give up. Wish those were my words, but I repeat those words. But I definitely think that use this time that we're, pretty much locked down, to really hone in on your creativity and really think of ways to connect with your fans online. Don't be afraid to get personal. Don't be afraid if you're struggling, don't be afraid to talk about it. You'd be surprised the amount of people out there willing to talk to you, sympathize with you, and maybe even give you inspiration in writing songs. So I would say that's my advice, and stay healthy. That's, and hopefully 2021 will get us in a better place.
Awesome. Well, wise words for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was really great talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you for being a part of our Searchlight Sessions videos. This video series, remember, is designed to help up-and-comers in the entertainment business to expand ways that they can be successful. Stay tuned for some takeaways from this session to help with your success. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Maggie. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.